Do we start it off with like a gobble, 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 gobble?
Well, I thought we could gobble, or we could just say, it's a time to be thankful. I like the gobble.
I like the gobble too, because we like to gobble down our food here at Chewin' the Lou.
We do. Do you remember back in the day when there was the coveted Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition? And
I may still have about 35 copies of it.
I mean, they're vintage now, right? Because they discontinued
Yes, that's
right?
exactly what they are. They're vintage. That's why I'm holding on to them. Because they're vintage.
Yes, we're going to tell our wives that, right? Well, no, funny enough, I always remember everybody, it being a big thing, broadcasted, but for me in my life, that is always the Thanksgiving edition to all of my food subscriptions that I have, like the Food and Wine and the Bon Appetit.
Well, Thanksgiving is kind of the Super Bowl of culinary days.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, it's you're not just making food for dinner. It's the shopping alone for Thanksgiving dinner is an experience. I remember as a grocery checker at Dierberg's in my high school days, like working at Dierberg's the day before Thanksgiving and just the endless carts of food coming through and people that were just stressed out of their gourds getting ready for Thanksgiving dinner.
It's like a marathon, right? It's not a fast sprint through the drive-through line. It's not that 5K where you're putting together a small gathering. It is a marathon. And not only just the shopping, but the prep work that goes into it too. Mm-hmm. So,
because you're not just making food, you're also entertaining, and it's always a large crowd of people, and it's people you haven't seen for a while, and it's family, and it may be family that you're just like, oh, great, you're here. And so you have to bite your tongue because it's Thanksgiving dinner, and nobody wants to
talk
Thanksgiving.
Those taboo issues, right?
I mean, we've all seen that Saturday Night Live skit with Adele.
Yes.
What's the song? Oh, it's Hello. That's what it is. Yeah.
Oh, it's the best.
The best. We've all been there. But there's a reason why that holiday is grounded in the food. I mean, we talk about it multiple times on this podcast, that food literally brings us together. Even when, my Uncle Rich would sit on the other end of the table at Thanksgiving dinner, all those times at my mom's house with all of us around the table. There would be 16 of us there, my cousins, my aunts and uncles. And Uncle Rich at the other end, God rest his soul, the conservative of the family would say, those gosh darn Democrats, and we'd all laugh at him as the liberal ones in the family at the other end of the table. And Grandma would sit there and she'd pick up a bottle of wine and she'd look at it and she'd say, is this one of those infidels? Meaning to say these Zinfandels. And she got it wrong. And we'd all laugh at Grandma. We love her. It's everyone has Thanksgiving stories and things that make them cherish the food, the family, and the experience that is Thanksgiving.
It is. Well, and it's a time, like we talked about in our very first podcast, right? We all have a food journey, and I feel like Thanksgiving is that snapshot of your food journey because everyone, if you're doing potluck style, brings something that is one of their favorites. It's one of the things that they connect with. And I saw that at my very first Thanksgiving that I had to cook on my own. When I lived in LA, we had an orphans Thanksgiving. It was a bunch of people in the production world and actors, and we all piled into this small Hollywood apartment, and we had people going to different kitchens and the different apartments. And at the end, we all brought together, grandma's mac and cheese that they called for, someone's oyster stuffing. I made the turkey for the first time. I cooked it upside down. So there's memories tied into Thanksgiving. And I think today, as we just devour ourselves with the enormous details and love and attention that goes into the meal, that I think that's part of what makes Thanksgiving amazing.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that story because over the last, I think, 20 years, I've seen at least, it's evolved to not just Thanksgiving, but now we have Friendsgivings that were happening.
I had Tanksgiving, where we'd get tanked the day after Thanksgiving.
Well, on the day before Thanksgiving, we'd all go out when we were 25 for Skanksgiving, and you go party. But Thanksgiving has evolved and has become what we need it to be. which is beyond just that food and beyond just that family around the table, to be about being thankful for the experiences we have. I'm thankful to have a good cohort and partner in Lydia on this podcast and in Chew in the Lou to bring all this great food knowledge. And she's going to impart some of that as we kind of talk about some of the food around Thanksgiving, some of the turkey tips, some of the great ways to cook your turkey, some of the sides, some of the stories that we have about our Thanksgivings, the dishes that have made them memorable to us. We want to hear you guys share your stories on Chew in the Lou, on Facebook, on Twitter, telling us what are your sides, what are your memories, what are your stories. You know, Thanksgiving is about doing it together.
Yeah.
So
it's about coming together. And I think that, you know, as we're counting our blessings, I am thankful for you, Joe, because one of the things that not being a native to St. Louis, not knowing all of these histories behind things, or you're sharing your nostalgic stories, like I have actually taken some great strides and visited these places and been able to really explore St. Louis on a whole new level. So thanks for that.
thank you.
Yeah, and I look forward to your local plug-in for all of these Thanksgiving things you've got going on today.
Love it.
So let's dive into it, right? We all know the centerpiece of Thanksgiving is the turkey. So
Gobble, gobble.
gobble, gobble. So turkey is always, I think it's the most intimidating part of your Thanksgiving dinner. I think last year, when everybody was kind of sheltering at home and trying to figure out, like, what are we going to do? We can't go to mom's house. We can't go to grandma's. Like, I am now home alone. People took that challenge of making their own turkey for the first time. And I think that, you know, once you get past that intimidation and kind of understand some of the golden rules to making a delicious turkey, it's really not that scary.
First golden rule is that there's a bag of giblets inside your turkey that you have to take out before you cook it. Everybody learns that mistake once.
Yes, and how did you learn that mistake?
I cooked a turkey with the giblets in the bag still inside.
Did the bag of gravy melt?
I don't really recall. It was just an amalgamation of stuff. And I was like, what was inside here that is now nasty?
I've seen videos of people thinking like it's a baby turkey inside of the turkey. Like kids freaking out when they have to, like, parents
Because the neck is in there
It
too.
is,
So
the
the
neck.
giblets are in there, the neck is in there, the bag of gravy is in there. There's all sorts of things that are in there. And I think I was in college, and it was like a Friendsgiving kind of situation. And you know, my mom had shared with me like how to cook a turkey, but that piece never. I think she just assumed that I knew to take the stuff out. And I just unwrapped that thing and threw the seasoning on there and threw it in the oven and was roasting it and popped it up and was like, oh, what is that? And I pulled it out and I was like, there's a neck in here.
So
It was horrible.
The thing with the neck and the gizzards and the liver that's usually inside of the bird is there for you to use to make your own stock.
Oh yeah, my grandma always used to do that.
Yeah.
But I always remember at Thanksgiving my mom handing over a bag to my grandma of those things.
Yeah.
Never crossed my mind where those were or how they came to be. I knew that grandma took those things to make stock and soup with. It never occurred to me that, like, when you bought a turkey, they were inside the turkey when you brought it home.
See, my memories of Thanksgiving was always my mom rushing to de-thaw the bird in the bathtub. It's almost like we were, like, baptizing our turkey before we...
Yes, you fill up the kitchen sink, and it's like bobbing in the water for a day or two. Yes, yeah, don't put it in the fridge multiple days beforehand.
Yes. So one of the things, and it's part of that planning process. We talked about the marathon that is Thanksgiving, and the big thing is that turkey. So the turkeys usually come in frozen. If you get them at the supermarket, there are some that come in fresh. But allowing yourself a 3 to 4 day window to defrost that turkey in your fridge naturally. This is the safest way to defrost your turkey.
And as a reminder for those of you that are listening, we will post on all Chew in the Lou channels a notification a couple days before Thanksgiving to remind you to take your turkey out of the freezer and put it in the fridge. Yeah. So if you don't follow us on Chew, one, you should follow us at Chew in the Lou on all social channels. If you don't, though, get out your phone right now and make a calendar invite on your calendar. Set something on your phone that it goes off 3 days before Thanksgiving. That's your cue to get your turkey out of your freezer.
Yes. So when your bird is defrosted, right? And it is now in this raw form. One of the things that people tend to do, there's two ways of it. There's brining, and there's two methods. There's not spatchcocking. There's dry brine and there's wet brine. And the wet brine is one that is not my favorite, but a lot of people do it. And essentially, as you fill this huge vat full of water and spices and sugar and salt, and you let your bird sit in it. And the dry brining process is one that I do every Thanksgiving. It's just taking salt and herbs. I use lemon zest, and I rub my bird down and let it sit in my fridge for about 24 hours, depending on how big it is. If it's fairly large, if it's over a 20-pounder, I'll let it sit for 2 days in that salt mixture. Mind you, it will be washed off, so it's not like we're going to cook it in that salt. But here's the thing, salt and sugar are magical to protein. And so when we're roasting something like we do for the turkey for a 3 to 4 hour process, we need to allow moisture to be in that bird. And turkey's lean, and so with it being lean, we need to kind of change the molecular structure in a way. So the salt does that by changing some of the protein into a gel, and then that gel holds in the moisture. So that's why we brine our turkeys. So, if you're used to maybe mom or grandma having a dry turkey, maybe be the person to offer to dry brine or to wet brine the turkey this year. But there's other options. If you don't want to do the brine, or if you're someone that's cutting back on your salt, spatchcocking is another big thing. It was a huge trend last year in all of the magazines. And that's ideally where you cut the spine out of the back of the bird, and then you do your CPR.
It's like surgery style. We're going to go Grey's Anatomy on our turkey here.
Yes. But the reason why you spatchcock, mind you, CPR, you're going to break the chest of the bird. You're going to have it lay flat. You cook it on a roasting pan, so you're able to allow air circulation to come underneath. But this method will also allow it to stay juicy, but to let it be cooked and roast all over without you having to use salt as your additional method.
You need like a fairly wide surface to spatchcock a turkey?
Yeah,
because I feel like it would spread out. Like once you break it, like a turkey's fairly round.
It is.
And if you were to flatten it down, I feel like it would splay out and be kind of a wide turkey.
It does sprawl itself out.
And spatchcock is a great word, by the way.
Yeah.
Even if you just learn the technique so that you can use that in your vocabulary. Like, I thought about spatchcocking my turkey, but I decided that was too intense for my guests.
It just makes you sound like an even better chef. Yes. I like to spatchcock a good chicken, put it in a cast iron, put potatoes on the bottom, and then just let all the juices of the chicken cook on top of the potatoes.
Fantastic.
I know, it's okay. But back to our turkey. So spatchcocking is one method, but roasting is the main method. Some people fry their turkeys, and if you're attempting to fry turkey for the first time, make sure your turkey is dry, okay? There's tons of horror
Splatter,
videos.
splatter.
It will explode. And if you don't believe me, YouTube is a great resource to learn what not to do when frying turkeys.
Also don't fill it up with oil, because you forget how big your turkey is, and it will displace a significant amount of oil.
Yeah.
And if it's already full of oil, that oil will displace out of your fryer and onto the floor and start a fire and burn your garage down.
Yes. There's nothing
We
worse
don't want that.
than losing your house on Thanksgiving.
There's nothing. I mean,
It'll be the
pretty
most
bad.
memorable Thanksgiving ever.
Yeah, no, we don't want any Chew in the Lou fans to lose your house on Thanksgiving.
So with your turkey process, and here's the thing I'm finding out. Everybody has their own way of wanting to cook a turkey. Some people grill it, some people fry it, some people like to inject it with brine or with gravy. So everyone has their own method that they think is the best. So lots of research, lots of great things out there, but keep in mind you want to give yourself a 2-day window to brine or inject or to help your bird retain its moisture.
So I have a really funny turkey story that I want to share. So everyone has their turkey horror stories. Everyone's burned a turkey or they've over spatchcocked it. Maybe, I don't know.
So wait, this is an additional horror story for turkey.
I had one. So this is a family horror story. And it's not even a horror story. It's more of a humorous anecdote. My mom for years, like I said, we always had a large family Thanksgiving, and my mom used a Nesco roaster to roast our turkey. this big thing. It had like a cart you had to put it on, and you plugged it in, and then the turkey roasted all day, and she basted it. Well, on Thanksgiving, one year I was probably a junior in high school, the power went out on Thanksgiving. And we were like, oh, crap, what are we going to do? It was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Turkey had been going for a couple hours, and it still needed a couple hours of cooking time. And the family wasn't there yet. They were going to come over in a couple hours. So we thought, well, crap, what are we going to do? The power was out. We need to keep the turkey going. So we thought, okay, let's go run this over to my dad's. My parents were divorced. My dad lived like a mile away. He was out of town. Called Dad, said, Dad, can we run over to your house? Can we bring the Nesco roaster over? Can we plug it in and cook the turkey over at your house? He was like, yeah, sure, no problem. So my sister and I get in the car. We throw the roaster in the back with the turkey in it. It's sloshing around and its juices in the back of my car. Run over to Dad's, run inside, try to plug it in, realize, crud. We left the cord back at Mom's house. We get back in the car. We run back over to Mom's house. She runs outside, hands us the cord. So we run back over to Dad's house. We get over there. We get ready to plug it back in. It's ready like 5 minutes. Okay, it's heating up. We're good. Turkey's cooking again. All of a sudden, we're getting ready to walk out the door, and Mom calls and says, guess what? Power's back on. Okay, grab the turkey, unplug it, throw it back in the car. Run back over to Mom's. As soon as we pull in the driveway, Mom comes running out saying, power went back off again. Take it back over to your dad's. So turn around, go back over to Dad's. Take the turkey back over, haul it back inside, plug it back in, get it warmed up, get it roasting again, sit there for another 10 minutes to make sure that the power stays off at Mom's. And then after about 10 or 15 minutes, we get ready to leave. She calls, power's back on, bring the turkey back. We did this 3 or 4 times, back and forth with this dang turkey over the course of probably 90 minutes. And forever, we refer to it as Operation Turkey Trot, where this dang turkey, it was like, you needed the Benny Hill music in the background of like us running back and forth with a giant Nesco roaster with a 20-pound turkey in it. And some high school kids like hauling it around mid-county to make sure that it was cooked and ready for our giant family dinner that night.
What time did you eat?
I don't recall. I just remember giggling all day. And that's all I remember.
Oh.
So eventually it worked. It's a good memory, and forever I will always think of, okay, if I'm cooking a turkey, what is my backup plan if the power goes out? Because of Operation Turkey Trot.
Well, there you go. There you go. Hard lessons learned. Horror stories.
Lessons learned.
Always set you up. Okay, so we've talked about our centerpiece, our Norman Rockwell centerpiece of the big turkey in front of the big table. We've got to think about the sides, right? And there's usually the normal sides. We've got stuffing. We have our mashed potatoes. We have gravy, green bean casserole. So those are the main
What's your
staples.
favorite? Not like, don't give me, we'll talk about everything you have at your table, but like if you had to pick, like I'm going to have turkey and something, like what is yours, like what's your go-to Thanksgiving side dish?
So for me, it's always been the green bean casserole. That was like my favorite thing. I loved green beans as a kid. I would just smash that thing. So good. So yeah, would say if I were to do turkey and that would be it. So
See, for
what's
me,
yours?
it's mashed potatoes with turkey gravy.
Oh.
Like for some reason, turkey gravy and mashed potatoes, I don't know. I mean, I'll eat mashed potatoes the rest of the year, but for some reason, there's just something about the turkey gravy that you make with turkey drippings that just makes it sing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, that's good. You can't go wrong with it. So we talked stuffing, right? And I feel like stuffing is one of those things where everybody has their own family recipe that has been handed down, and someone has to make it, right? Someone's job. That's like that's part of the will, right? You are being given, you're behooved the family and the responsibility.
You are behooved. And there's multiple ways. I mean, there's the stovetop. Lots of people do the stovetop. There's the whole controversy of, do you cook your stuffing in the turkey or not? The Butterball hotline says to not cook your stuffing.
Oh, no, because it adds extra cook time, and it doesn't cook it.
It doesn't. And there was a whole episode of The West Wing about it, like that it's not safe. It's my favorite show of all time. That it is not safe for you to cook your stuffing inside the turkey. Unless it is pre-cooked, which is where the White Castle stuffing idea, which I've never had, but I've always wanted to try. Have you ever had the White Castle stuffing?
No, tell me about it, because I don't even know about it.
So White Castle stuffing is where you take actual like real White Castle hamburgers, not cheeseburgers, because who wants cheese in their stuffing? That's gross.
With the caramelized onions, right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Onion crystals that everybody
I love them. They're so yummy. Oh my gosh. And you take actual White Castle hamburgers and you have to have the pickles. That's a part of it. And you chop it up and you stuff that in your turkey. And because it's already pre-cooked, it's okay to do. So there's not, you don't run the risk of it being dangerous. And then maybe you like add some extra onion, or you add some like celery or something like that. I forgot exactly what it is. I'm sure you can Google it and find it online. But people do that with their stuffing. And it supposedly is really good. I'm skeptical because I love White Castle. I don't know if I'd love White Castle in my turkey. Would you?
I am not a good answer because I am not a proponent for White Castle ever. Even on Valentine's Day, where they bring out the nice tablecloths and the candlelight. Like, I had it once, and I think it was after watching Harold and Kumar. Just was like, what is this whole movie plot line around? And sorry, I can't.
Well, you just have not had White Castle at the right moment in your life.
Sure.
That's a whole other podcast, folks. We'll talk about that some other time. Other stuffing things, though. So my dad, I'm going to give a shout out to my dad, Steve Prosperi. He actually makes, and he has for many years now, an Italian sausage and crawfish stuffing that he makes. And he makes big pans of it, and he makes like so much of it at Thanksgiving because he knows everybody asks for it. So he makes enough to send everybody like frozen batches of his stuffing, and each one is like an entire stick of butter. That's probably why it's so good. But it has all sorts. It has like water chestnuts in it. It's got crawfish tails. It's got Italian sausage, things that you'd be like, I don't know if those would work in stuffing. They do. Trust me. So if you're looking to be adventurous for Thanksgiving and you're thinking, okay, well, what areas a turkey you may want to be traditional with, mashed potatoes, traditional. If there's a thing that you might want to go outside the box on, stuffing may be the area where you can flex your culinary skills or your culinary creativity.
I like that. I would disagree with that, though.
Oh.
I would disagree. I feel like if you're going to flex and change up your culinary skills, do it with some of the other sides that you have. Like your Brussels sprouts, right? So
if you have Brussels sprouts at your Thanksgiving table,
well,
I don't.
I feel like Brussels sprouts have had their moment to shine, and people have learned a proper way to cook Brussels sprouts.
Yes.
Because Brussels sprouts used to be boiled, and when you boil them and you overcook them and even over roast them, it actually lets out this sulfuric flavor, which makes it very bitter and unpleasant. But one of the things with Thanksgiving dinner, you got to think about, we got those heavy mashed potatoes. We've got, some people do mac and cheese. Some people do, like, we all have stuffing. So all of those things are really heavy in salt and fat and sugar. And so we get real full and we get to the point where we really want to take a nap. But if you balance out your flavors on your meal and on your plate, you'll actually realize that you have more room for other things because you're not getting bored with it. You're not getting the same thing hitting your palate. So you're looking at me inquisitively about what
I'm wondering where
you're
going with this. I'm intrigued.
So here's the thing. So Brussels sprouts, usually they are on our table. They're cooked with bacon. But I would say change it up and serve them raw. Shred them, chop them, make them into a really nice salad, and put like a lemon vinaigrette.
Ooh, and craisins.
Craisins in it. I was going to say pomegranate seeds in there too. So you've got that pop of acid. But putting that, you're changing up the texture. So we don't have smooth and creamy. We don't have cooked. We have something that's crunchy on our plate because everything at the Thanksgiving dinner is somewhat cooked or
and
roasted.
Smooth and creamy.
Right. So this way you have a different texture. We have acid added to our plate. And we have some brightness. So it'll change up a lot of that. Oh, this is good. Oh, I could go back to my stuffing now because it's not so heavy on my palate. So I think that's one mistake that we do make with Thanksgiving is we don't offer enough variety of different flavors and textures. So that's for me one of the things that I like to do is to do a Brussels sprout salad with a preserved lemon vinaigrette and those poppy seeds and some pecans and some bacon in it.
I like that.
My other thing is the cranberry sauce. I always joke that it's kind of, we've all seen that can of cranberry, right? Right? And people like to serve it there as an actual dish that they put the cranberry sauce in, so you get the ripples of the can in it.
You slice it into rounds.
Oh, yeah. But cranberry is another one of those like flavor sort of balancing acts at your table with everything else that you have. And so there's so many things you can do with it. I like to take it and I actually make a cranberry jalapeno relish with it.
I've had it before, folks. It is delicious. Delicious.
It was the recipe that people request from me, or it's the thing that people ask me to bring to Thanksgiving dinner. And it's just raw cranberry that I've pureed with a little bit of sugar, cumin, so there's a different flavor profile on your table, some cilantro, and lime juice. And you add that on there. It's great the next day when you're doing the sandwiches. You spread it on there with a little bit of mayo. It's delicious.
It's really good over cream cheese with like crackers. Oh,
It's the way to go. So those are some encouragements for it. Now, sweet potatoes are another thing that end up on people's tables. Usually heavy with the marshmallows, heavy with the brown sugar.
And it's a tradition to burn them in some families.
Yes.
My mother-in-law always burns the marshmallows on the sweet potato casserole. Shout out to my mother-in-law, Sherry. And funny thing, she makes a sweet potato casserole every year. It's delicious. So much brown sugar, so much butter, nuts, marshmallows on top. Like it's everything. Like you think like, oh, let's do marshmallows or the sugary syrup. Nope, we do both. And it's really funny because her recipe for sweet potato casserole is the exact same recipe as her recipe for French toast casserole, except instead of bread, it's sweet potatoes. It's the exact same recipe. And just swap out the bread for the sweet potatoes, and that's what it is. And it works.
It sounds amazing.
It is.
So I will say that if anyone is getting anxiety listening to this, already like thinking about how to manage Thanksgiving dinner, there are some really great places here locally that do some great jobs with sides, but not only Thanksgiving themselves. So I learned about from a regular back at the restaurant who every year they ordered their Thanksgiving dinner from Deerbergs. The turkey, all the fixings are like, we did it once when I was in nursing school because we didn't have time to cook dinner. And now we do it every single year because it's done great. But the other place is Straub's. And I love to talk about Straub's because I feel like it's sort of their deli department and their sides that they do are phenomenal. Their gravy is like the sleeper of the whole thing, right? You wouldn't think to go to a grocery store and to buy gravy. They make it from scratch. They have 2 kitchens that they make things from. The Webster Grove Straub's and the one on Clayton are their 2 commissary kitchens where they make everything on site and then will ship it out to their other grocery stores. They have 3 things. So I called and I talked to 2 chefs that work at those locations. There's Chef Clint and Chef Jan. Thank you both for your input. And they said like their sweet potato casserole is one of their big ones that everybody comes to get at Thanksgiving. Their gravy and their mashed potatoes. They make 400 gallons of gravy. That's how good it is, and that's how much people love it.
400 gallons?
It's enough to make a bunch of truckers really happy.
It's enough to swim in.
And their mashed potatoes, they make about 2,500 pounds of mashed potatoes in 3 days around Thanksgiving. So it's got to tell you that they're doing something right with those sides.
I love it.
All right, so we've talked about the meal itself.
Well, I'm going to do a quick shout out too. If you need a turkey or need turkey around Thanksgiving, Pappy's smoked turkey. I was at the Q and the Lou Barbecue Festival back in October, beginning of October, and you were there too. And their smoked turkey, oh my gosh, like talk about the juicy turkey. And to think that it sat in a smoker all day and still had that much moisture in it was shocking to me. But it was really stunningly good.
That sounds delicious.
Yes, really
it's
good.
It's a game changer.
Game changing.
All right, let's talk about pies.
Pie. The outside of turkey, pie is is it for Thanksgiving?
It's
because
the caboose.
It's the
following everything up.
It's the caboose to your meal. I'm gonna have to use that in as an analogy more often. So. You know, I think pumpkin pie is a pie that everybody goes to. I think everybody has a pumpkin pie. Some people put nuts on the top, but there's always some form of pumpkin pie. Mm-hmm. You know, I think the second one that a lot of people have is an apple pie at Thanksgiving, potentially.
Pecan pie. Let's not forget about pecan pie.
See, I love pecan pie. Do you like chocolate in your pecan pie?
It depends on if there's bourbon in it.
That's a great point.
Yes.
Great point.
Yes, because there should always be bourbon.
There
in
should
your
always be a bourbon in your pecan pie. So I think if there's always a plethora of pies. There's always a plethora of whipped cream to go with those pies, and I think that's always an important piece. We're of the ilk of we buy our pies for Thanksgiving. Like we will go and place an order. It's like, you know what, you got enough going on that day to get a turkey and 6 other side dishes and appetizers and entertaining all these people to get that all done in and ready, and then have to worry about pies on top of that is so much. And there are some great pie bakeries throughout town that can get those, and they will store very well, either frozen or store well in the fridge. Like it's not a thing that you have to have fresh for it to still be really, really good.
Okay, so where's your go-to pie place for Thanksgiving?
So our go-to place is always Sugary Baking Company on the hill, or not on the hill, pardon me, in Dogtown.
Okay.
I-
Don't mix those two
Sorry,
up. I
they're
mean, it's
totally different. I used to actually live 2 doors down from Sugary on Tam Avenue, and used to walk down there all the time and get pies. They used to, many years ago, they were they used to do just wedding cakes, and then they would open on Saturdays for 4 hours just for pies. When I lived down there, this was like 10 years ago, and it was like the greatest revelation that they opened for 4 hours to go and pick up pies on Saturday mornings. And my wife and I, she had just moved in, we had just gotten engaged, and it would be like, oh, it's Saturday, what kind of pie do we want to go get this weekend? And I mean, for like weeks, we'd just be like, oh, but this week it's a lemon meringue, this week it's a chess pie, this week it's a, so many good pies. And they do a huge, huge order. You have to order them in advance. You can't walk in and buy a pie the day before Thanksgiving. And the line wraps around the door, outside the door, around the block to pick up their pies. But it is well worth it.
I think Pie Oh My, and I just love it because of the name too. It's like Pie Oh My. It could go
I always
a lot
think of
ways.
that. That was the name of the horse in The Sopranos. That's a whole episode of The Sopranos. There was a racing horse. It's a very sad, tragic story. We won't go into that.
Didn't end up in someone's bed, right? The head
No,
down.
but
That's
the horse did die, unfortunately. But the horse's name was Pie Oh My. So whenever I hear that, I always think of that episode of The Sopranos. Side note, sorry.
So Pie Oh My is located in Maplewood, and they've been around for a long time, but they do a fantastic job. And also Pint Size Bakery. And what I love about Pint Size Bakery is they've got these little small mini hand pies. So if you want to offer a variety of pies, but you're like, I don't want to have a lot of leftovers, you could just order, 5 little mini apples and 5 little mini pumpkins, and you'll be good to go.
I like pint size. I like the pint size oatmeal cream pies. That seems like a very Thanksgiving kind of thing as
the
well.
warming spice in
That's
there.
going to be great for kids. Like if my kids don't like pumpkin pie, I think kids are turned off by pies because they're not cake. And I think having oatmeal cream pies would be more palatable for kids, and that might be a fun thing to get my kids for Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Oatmeal cream pies.
Now, if you're wanting to make your own pie, because I know that some of the Chew Crew community has discussed that pie is one of the things for Thanksgiving that they have troubles with, and it's making that pie crust from scratch, right? So there's a couple tricks. One, it's the fat that you put into your pie crust, whether it's lard or butter or shortening. All of those will give you different results. The other thing is temperature. You want to have it super, super, super cold. So usually when I make my pie crust, I put everything in the freezer, measure it all out, even the bowl I'm going to mix it in for about 20 minutes. And then I pull it out and I'll make my pie crust. And then the other thing is using vodka or vinegar. Both of those components are acid, and when you add them to your pie crust, it actually prohibits gluten from forming. So gluten in your pie crust would make it tough. So it's kind of like this little extra agent in your pie crust.
So if you put bourbon in your pecan pie and vodka in your pecan pie crust,
it's a good time to have pie. Put amaretto on my whipped cream. Come on over. We'll have a good time.
Oh my gosh, what a fantastic idea.
Or limoncello, depending on the pie. But you know what? Neither here nor there. But make your pies. You can make your pies 2 days in advance. We don't have to stick everything in the oven all at the same time. So make them in advance or buy them. Support somewhere local. I will say and do encourage that the holiday season will be here before we know it. So make your plans. understand that our restaurant community is working very hard to take care of their guests. But with staffing shortage and distribution shortage, the more time you can give them, the better you're going to get the opportunity to enjoy them on your table at Thanksgiving.
And I think in closing, the thing to keep in mind is don't worry about it. Like, unless you have an Operation Turkey Trot like my family did, or you forget to take the giblets out of the turkey, or, unless your food totally sucks, you'll be fine. Yeah. Something may not look right. Store-bought pie crust is fine. Yeah. Getting your turkey from somewhere is fine. It's about the experience of Thanksgiving. It's about getting together with family and friends. It's about all coming together and sitting around and eating something and enjoying the company and doing it. And nobody's going to stress out if your souffle fell or if you make lasagna instead of a turkey. That's okay.
Or if you cook the giblets inside the turkey.
Yes, those are all things like. It's fine. And if it goes wrong, it's a great story for the future. Your kids will remember it. Your siblings will remember it. Your friends will remember it. And that's what it's all about. So take a load off, make yourself a drink, make a Manhattan, cook some food, roast a turkey, have some fun, keep it local, and happy Thanksgiving.
I love it. The beauty of life is in the imperfection. Or needlepoint that on my Thanksgiving dinner.
You're going to go to Thanksgiving dinner and have that needle pointed on napkins.
On all the napkins. We'll all do it. So, well, we just want to say thank you to everyone. We are grateful and thankful for our Chew in the Lou community. And we hope you all have a wonderful holiday.
Your hosts for the Chew and Lou podcast are Joe Prosperi
and Lydia Glenn.
Our producer is Veronica Moleski, and this has been a production of 9PBS.